Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody and wherever you are in the world. As the first slide shows there, my name is Clive Bearman. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for at Informatica Cloud here, specifically Informatica Cloud Extend. And I have the pleasure to be joined today by Erik Eckland, who's the Senior Salesforce Administrator for Corvisa Services. So let's take a look at the agenda today. Hopefully it's going to be actually very light on slideware, and a significant portion of today's session actually is going to be Erik showing everybody his hints and tips on how he uses Cloud Extend and process automation. So I'm going to give a quick overview of process automation. We're going to see Informatica Cloud Extend in practice, a really, really great demo. We're going to do some question and answers. As the administrator said there, the phone lines have been muted, but please feel free to type your question and questions in the little Q&A box on your panel there, and we will answer those at the end. I've got some little next steps at the end, and that should take us hopefully to the top of the hour. So before I begin, I want to give a quick introduction about the Informatica Cloud family. Most of you are probably all aware that the Informatica Cloud sort of cloud integration really has been the core and the foundational service that's been around for a while. And with this massive breadth of connectivity between just not only sort of on-premise and in the cloud to cloud, really it is the lifeblood of pumping data in and out and doing that integration with connecting cloud apps. Then more recently, that we can get the data in and out of cloud applications, but the real to get benefit out of cloud and Informatica Cloud, cloud data quality and master data management delivers that real single customer view, so I can get data in, I can get data out. But also, what about the dedupes? What about a single source of a particular customer record? Do I mean, Clive Bearman or Mr. C. Bearman or Bearman Clive? Are all these things related to one person, three people? I mean, you just don't know. So cloud integration, allows our to get data in and out. The cloud data quality and master data management delivers that sort of single customer view, if you like. And then the piece we're going to talk about today is the cloud process automation. So I've got data in, I've got that single reference, but then how do I, don't mess everything up? How do I work efficiently with the data? And again, we'll see Erik do some great automation today. So that was sort of cloud in general. Let's take a specific instance and let's look at Salesforce. So the vision of life with Salesforce is, the sales reps will be more informed, they'll increase sales effectiveness, they'll provide more value to their clients. We're going to increase sales productivity. It's not on-premise, it's a cloud solution, and everything is great. Sales managers will be have more information at their fingertips. They'll have accurate forecasts. They can more effectively coach maybe more junior reps about how to tackle an account. And, from my perspective, Sales Cloud and Salesforce is great because I'm going to make sure my marketing programs will be measurable. I will then know where I can put make my dollars more effective and get more bang for my buck in particular programs. And finally, sort of customer experience, that customer support. If we use Salesforce, helps us with faster service response, maybe have better sales or service engagement. So really, the life with Salesforce is pitched as it's going to be pretty good. Of course, what often happens with Salesforce instead, it's sort of often viewed as another corporate overhead. Oh my goodness, I have to deal with Salesforce. We see that sales managers don't see how it really helps their reps to sell. Sales reps are busy enough for having to enter a whole ton of fields, or maybe have to search for information. They don't really just use it as a resource. Marketing doesn't really get meaningful metrics, as we said. Maybe there's duplicate data, or because the sales guy didn't enter the lead source, we don't know if that was a lead for a particular program. And just if we looked at customer support, if it's a singular system isolated on its own, perhaps customer support hasn't really improved with Salesforce, because customers, when they're ringing with trouble tickets, sort of get asked to provide their same customer information over and over again. So we know Salesforce is good, but it also is a big headache too. And, this is what really happens with Salesforce. What started out as a nice, kind of tight, sweet sort of system ends up with fields and views that are huge. There's lots and lots of fields that we added because very business units requested them. Perhaps people changed jobs, and the thought of what that field was there for loses its meaning over time, and things like that. So again, we started off with something very small, and then we ended up with something unwieldy to use instead. And really, why did this happen? And from my perspective, Salesforce isn't really mapped to the daily business use. It's really nice for contact and activity tracking. It's really good at that. But as we saw on the previous screen, if we keep adding tons of custom fields, we get that kind of custom field overload, and sales reps and customer support folks and marketing folks really don't know what fields to add at what time and what fields are relevant in what particular context. And then, of course, other activities for Salesforce gets ignored. So things like, can I use Salesforce for lead qualification? What about things that the salesperson might find useful to identify upsell or cross-sell candidates or leads? Why don't we use Salesforce more effectively for meeting preparation? What about sort of the quote-to-order process? How is that handled? And what about customer case sort of setup and call resolution and that sort of thing? So we don't really do most of those things because, again, they're not really mapped to that daily business use. Also, if we create custom applications that we add to Salesforce, that also creates a dependency on IT. So the reason we employed Salesforce in the first place was to move more quickly, make things a little bit more agile. But now if we're asking IT or we're farming it out to a third-party consultant, we've lost that agility, and we don't really have that. We don't really have the time to market for projects that we would like as users. In the end, we just create a backlog, and IT has to fulfill that backlog, and we're back into that same sort of old cycle. And then thirdly, mobile users, when they see these huge screens, are not necessarily effectively enabled when they're at their desk. So how do I take that huge long screen and really use it on a mobile device for maybe field engineers or sales reps that are on the road? So, we had a nice idea. We employed Salesforce. We started to implement it and add tons of custom fields, and then it got unwieldy. And now, we're at danger of sort of messing up all the data that we so meticulously pumped in and out using some sort of integration engine that we rationalized with a single view of the customer, all to now kind of mess it up by having this huge, long, confusing fields that we can poke data in at any time we like. So, as we said, our current implementation is sort of step-by-step approach on these single log fields. We remember sort of our best practices and our Salesforce training. Perhaps the way I would work with Salesforce in this sort of free-form environment is different to the way my colleague would use Salesforce. And really, if I wanted to really make this a really, really great experience for my users, I really do need to heavily customize that, maybe go to IT or custom coding, and that's really not what I wanted for at the outset when I got Salesforce in the first place. So what we're going to do, we're going to use process-centric implementations instead. We're going to automate a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not going to talk too much here, but basically the concept is I'm going to guide my specific users through a wizard-like process to work on specific data in context that they really care about. We're going to have universal access to the data, whether it's I'm using a tablet or my browser or my mobile phone. And as you'll see, and you'll see some of the stuff that Erik's built, there really was no Apex coding or hand coding required. So again, on the left, it's going to be hard to use. On the right, we've got something easy. And I mentioned it already, the tool that we'll be talking through today is Informatica Cloud Extend. It's a process automation tool for Salesforce users. As I said, it's do-it-yourself, no coding required. We can see mobile and desktop wizards, and works with standard objects such as accounts, contacts, opportunities, leads, and with maybe custom objects that you might define. Maybe there's a call sheet or something like that as a Salesforce object that you would like automated. Who's it for? Well, the tool itself is great for sales operations, Salesforce administrators, customer support, marketing departments, or even we can automate some Salesforce administration activities too. Again, why would we use it? It improves that end user efficiency, so I'm not wading through millions of tabs and tons and tons of fields. I'm just going to be shown the data for a particular process that I'm doing. We'll see some of those. I will ensure that users really won't undo all that clean data that I've spent doing. Processes are consistent and repeatable. So that means, again, whether it's myself or my colleague, and we want to do a lead qualification process, we can follow these guides, and I would do it in the same manner that my colleague would do it. Absolutely consistent, absolutely repeatable. And the nice thing is, if we use these repeatable processes, it really does deliver accurate data for downstream systems. So maybe you use Salesforce as the source for commission checks. So, using an opportunity progression wizard, perhaps you can create a process that ensures later on down the line the data that was created during that opportunity progression actually goes towards creating the right compensation plans to the right folks. And again, how powerful tools, and Erik's going to show that, and we simply guide users through steps, screen steps, and a ton of automated work. So the business experts, I wouldn't call myself a business expert, but I'm definitely a business user. We design the process to match the way that we work. And my users, maybe particular sales folks, follow embedded guides within the screen. They don't have to scroll. It's all within context there. And I have a little flash there to show just where the guide works. And one of the other benefits is that there's a really nice theme whereby that mobile users using their Salesforce credentials they can get wizards too instead of that whole Salesforce experience. And maybe they can update an opportunity with meeting notes. And I just want to stress here that update opportunity with notes is not just one field. We're doing a whole process. So I maybe update the opportunity with some notes saying I had a great time or had a great meeting, but then perhaps I want the next step in the process is to send an email to my manager or to add something to a work queue, or in fact send out a chatter message to other people on that are in my district or my patch that I'd met with these folks, or I assign a task to maybe a business development rep to call these folks in a couple of weeks. So even though I've got a one-liner there that says update an opportunity with notes, I'm doing a complete full process with inside that very small screen real estate. And again, I could never do that if I was just using Salesforce. Other things, I could prepare for a forecast review. So maybe there's a process on my phone before I'm off to the sales meeting to quickly review my opportunities and find out if these opportunities in my queue are in fact at the right qualification stage or not. Maybe add a travel request. Maybe you've got a Salesforce is integrated with a travel system or a workflow system that processes travel. We could add a travel request as a custom object for that system too. Again, start a rapid response to a complaint. Here we're going to create a field engineer. He's on site, and maybe he needs to create a trouble ticket for a particular item. Again, we said record notes from meetings. And I don't want to beat this horse to death, but it's easy to design, no Apex coding with some great tools, easy to deploy. So once I've created it, I push the publish button, and it'll appear in my Salesforce environment for me. And it's extremely easy to use for my users. So that's the whole idea of guiding Salesforce users to work much more efficiently. So I'm taking all of that overhead away of thinking about things, memory of what was my training, where do I find stuff, is it this in the lead tab, is this in the contact, is this in an opportunity. I know I'm going to do a guide and follow the guide, and it's going to tell me exactly what I need to do. So with that, you've heard me talk about the idea behind process automation. I think really the best person that could offer some advice on how to automate and hear their experience with this tool and the benefits they got from this tool is if I pass this over to Erik Eckland, who's really the Salesforce administrator for Corvisa services, and he's going to tell you exactly how they use Informatica Cloud Extend.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. As Clive said, my name is Erik Eckland. I am the manager of Salesforce implementation here at Corvisa Services. And what I really want to do today is just mostly take you through a demo of how we've used Cloud Extend to solve some of our business needs. So I won't bore you with too many prior details, but just to kind of give you a brief background on who Corvisa is. So Corvisa, we were founded in 2009 here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We were doing some software at that point in the real estate appraisal space. About a year later, we were acquired by StreetLinks Lender Solutions, which is one of the largest appraisal management companies in the United States. We had kind of a comparable offering to theirs, and by bringing us on, they were able to kind of flesh out their portfolio of products they could offer to lenders. About a year and a half, almost 2 years later, we were repositioned as a shared services arm of our parent company and StreetLinks' parent company named Novation Companies. So what we do then under the Novation umbrella is all of the software development, all of the IT, marketing, Salesforce administration, HR, All of these shared services we offer to the other Novation companies just so that they can keep costs down. So it's a really great position for us to be in because we get to play with code, help out a whole bunch of different companies in different industries through Salesforce and through other avenues that we can offer that. In 2013 then, Corvisa made its first acquisition of a company that we've rebranded as Corvisa Cloud, and we became a Salesforce implementation partner. So currently most of what I do on a day-to-day basis is speak with clients that have recently purchased Salesforce and try to solve their needs in getting their company up and running and getting their users running quickly so they can see their return on investment. And just along the bottom of the slide here, then we've got just the logos from the other companies, Novation, Advent Financial, which works in the tax space, Corvisa Cloud, which in addition to implementing Salesforce, also offers some internet telephony, cloud-based call center replacement solutions, and then StreetLinks, as I mentioned, in the appraisal management space. Some obligatory shots of our office. If any of you are familiar with Milwaukee or Schlitz beer, we are in the old Schlitz bottle house. We've kind of gutted out the inside, and here are just some shots of our office. We've really kind of built an open space with a lot of collaboration spaces. So I always just like to include that just to kind of give a little glimpse into our culture. So let's get down to kind of how we found out about Cloud Extend and the problems that we were facing when we kind of turned to finding a solution like Cloud Extend. We had two of our sister companies that were launching initiatives simultaneously that were essentially calling lists of leads that we've gotten or accounts in different industries to try to get points of contact and really kind of offer our services. The staff that we were going to be using to carry out this calling were all temporary staff. The vast majority had no knowledge of Salesforce or any prior use, and really most of them had no knowledge of the industry that they were now being hired into. We were hiring them to call up, get a warm body on the phone, collect, verify, and really get these nice data points that we needed so we could start promoting our business to them. And we needed to do them in a scripted manner so that we knew what they were saying every single time and collecting every single point that we needed to every single time. And really we needed to get this up and running very, very quickly with minimal time for training and kind of a large group as well. So we were stuck. We had Salesforce. We've been Salesforce users for years. I was able to build all of the screens and all of the objects to capture all of these data points that we needed, all of the reporting that would be powered by that. But really that's useless if your people aren't entering that data correctly. And having temporary staff and trying to rely on them to click through multiple different screens and remember which fields that they had to fill in and which ones they didn't was going to be kind of a chore. So the first tool that we were looking at in trying to kind of automate this flow and script these calls for them was visual workflow within inside of Salesforce. It obviously sounds like it would solve our need, being able to guide a user and hold their hand through the whole call, collect these data points, update the records appropriately, create new records if need be. And it really is a valuable tool for that. The reason we stepped away from Flow, though, was that it was difficult for me as an admin to achieve really basic functionality that I thought that I needed. And it was very time-consuming for me to try to learn how to build things in Flow, declaring variables and all of that kind of stuff that's more on a programmer side. Just kind of was a giant roadblock for us because I didn't really have the time to sit down and learn it as deeply as I would need to. The other reason we didn't want to jump right into Flow is because then I or a developer would be stuck having to do all the updating. We wanted to present these scripts over to the managers of their departments so that they could then tweak them if they felt like they needed to change a sentence here or there or capture a new data point or something like that. So having the modifications kind of rest on the shoulders of the admins and the developers just wasn't scalable for us. So around this time, kind of fortuitously, we met the Cloud Extend folks down at CloudForce in Chicago last year in 2012. They were hosting an after party that our Wisconsin Salesforce user group was a part of, and met them, had a great time, had a demo the following week, and then shortly thereafter purchased a block of licenses so that we could have our sister companies do this scripting for us. So why did we choose Cloud Extend over Flow? As Clive said, it's very, very simple. There's no code. There's no Apex. You don't have to write test cases. You don't have to declare variables. You don't even have to know what variables are, which I loved. Being able to turn this over to my team that has no development experience and having them be able to create these flows very quickly was very important for us and was a huge win on the Cloud Extend side. The time savings then for not having to ramp up and learn about variables and all of that stuff and how Flow really operates was invaluable to us. The interface, as I'll show you, if you have not seen it yet, is much more friendly, much less jarring than the Flow interface for me. These flows can easily be modified by a non-admin, someone on the management side, someone on a team lead side even, if we chose to give them that ability to modify. And really the user support was unparalleled. I'm able to call in and get someone right away, send an email to support, the support email address, and they'll bounce back to me right away with some tips or asking for a time that I'm able to work with them. So really great user support team. I can't say enough about how much that has helped along the way. So at this point, I've done enough kind of talking about who I am and the issues that we faced, and I want to kind of jump into a demo here to just kind of show you where we are, how we've used Cloud Extend, and just kind of give you a shot at how this looks in action. So I'm sharing my screen now here, and the first screen that I'll show you here is just the guide designer itself. There's a really nice interface allowing you to kind of group your flows or guides into folders so that you can tag them however you'd like and be able to break them up logically. And then I have my designer canvas here so that I can easily add new steps or rearrange them if I need to. And the first thing that I noticed here when I was first given a demo of Cloud Extend is how friendly it felt. Just the rounded corners and the uncluttered space. It was really pleasing to my eye, and it was enabled me to really just jump right in and get into it. So we'll kind of take you through a scenario here on the guide that we built here. So one of our companies had a list of moving providers. So if you're trying to travel from one end of the country to the other and you needed a moving provider to do that for you, we were helping to book those for you and find you the lowest rate. So we had a list of movers from the Department of Transportation, and we needed people to call through the list. Oftentimes we didn't have a name of anyone at the institution. We just had the institution's name. So we wanted people to place a call, try to find the decision maker to see if they would like to partner with us, verify some data points, and then along the way, we would want to create those contact records, create contact roles out of that, update the account record with the information that we're gathering, and really just guide the user through a script along the way. So we would offer these points here. Please call the company and draw in some information from the account, such as the phone number. And then I can kind of write my scripting here, include some images if I need to, and again, draw in some information here from the user record. And just provide the user with a script so they can walk right through. Depending on the outcome here of the question, we'll be able to offer them different paths to go down. And then they'll just go through from point A to point B, collecting information along the way, and at the end wrapping up, the system will automatically send them an email. I can trigger workflow off of this and everything that I would normally be able to do since it's all operating within Salesforce. So that's just a quick look at the tree here, just to show you kind of how complex it is. We were able to do some decision points if we weren't able to get anyone on the phone. We could trigger or key off of a status field to find out where we needed to go next automatically, so the user didn't have to decide which voicemail script to leave. We were able to tell them which one to leave. But let's jump into an account and kind of see this in action. So rather than relying on our users to go find the accounts that they needed to work, we were able to present them with list views and reports segmented out on a daily basis so that they knew which ones they were supposed to tackle that day and avoid any stepping on toes at that point. So we had a list of accounts, as I said, moving companies. And rather than relying on the user to figure out which of all of these fields they need to update, we now have a nice campaign guide section here in the middle of our screen. And this is, editable. We can move this to wherever we want it to in the page layout within the detail section. So I have a list of guides here that I can present to my user, and then they can choose the appropriate one. In this case, we only had one, so the choice was pretty easy for them. But I can load up that guide here, and I can see that I'm pulling this information in dynamically based on the phone number field that I have for this account. So I don't have to move their eye across the screen, don't have to tell them to go find the phone number. I can present everything in this one frame for them and kind of hold their hand throughout the whole way. So we asked them to call the company, and if they got someone on the phone, then they would go ahead and say that, yes, I did receive, or I did get someone on the phone. Here's my script, as we saw on the previous screen, asking for the move coordinator, some kind of decision maker. And one nice thing that you'll notice here along the right is that it's logging a history of everything that I've done, all of the screen steps or cards or whatever you want to call them that I've gone through. So I can easily go back to any of these if I need to. I can jump right back to the first screen. I can restart the whole guide if I need to. But so you can see here I'm allowing users to enter data at this point. And as they're doing this, when the guide is done, it's going to create that contact record for me, and I'm actually able to reference this contact throughout the guide as I'm moving through. So I just pulled in the name here from the person that I just entered. I've got some more of my scripting here to kind of give our value prop. And then I can just carry through with the entire script from front to back. And then at the end, it'll do whatever I tell it to wrap up as. And then once it's done, it will just reload the page, and any information that I've gathered here would update the appropriate fields. So I believe in this guide we're using fleet size. I'm able to drag this field, or not drag it, but able to pull that information into my guide and allow users to update it if it is incorrect. So one of the cards later on in this guide, I won't step through the whole thing, but asks to verify the fleet size. We have 15, is that correct? And if they say no, they can modify just from here and save that, so that when they do finish the guide, it will update the record for them, and they don't have to find which fields they need to go to. So that's kind of a quick overview of the guide that we put in place and the reasons behind it. Really, the most important things, again, was speed to launch this. We had a new team that had a week to get up and going. So just enough time for us to create these guides, test them out, and then have them hit the ground running, speaking as if they were experts, following a nicely written script for them so they don't have to figure out what to say next. Just guiding them through the yes and no decision points, or multiple decision points if there is a case like that. So the best benefit out of this, obviously, is you're capturing all the data every time. Your reporting then becomes much more valuable. You're able to kind of show those reports to the business owners and the business leaders and give the results that they're expecting to get, all without having to program something or rely on the users to do things properly on their own. So Clive, I think I will turn this back over to you here.
Right. Actually, before you turn it back, Erik, I was going to do some more slides, but I have a couple of questions. So one of the guests asked, if you don't mind answering, how many Salesforce users do you have?
Oh, certainly. So currently we have about 315 in our organization, and that's across the 5 business units that we run, all out of the same Salesforce org.
And then how many folks were using essentially the call script that you have here, the interactive call script? How many folks were running that?
Sure. So for these initiatives, we had teams of 10 to 15, depending on the business unit that was running it. So all told, it was about 30 users, about half and half, I guess, between the two companies that were using the scripting.
And then what was the sort of onboarding process for each one of those users? Was it basically a quick run through this, or you kind of got them in a chair and a phone and a login and off they went?
Yeah, it really made it a lot easier than the previous onboardings we've done with sales teams or anything like that, where we didn't have to go in and explain where to find everything inside of Salesforce. We were able to kind of bring them in, orient them within the screen, chop down the number of tabs that they needed, just tell them, here are the accounts, here's the report that you work from, here's how to find it. You'll go into the account, and then you'll basically just start the guide and go front to back. And when you're done, you'll go back to that report and then carry on with the next one. So the onboarding process was very easy. Maybe a day's worth of training, just to kind of give them info on who they're calling and why, orient them to Salesforce and Cloud Extend, and then kind of show them the results that we're looking for out of that. But very, very quick.
And as you said, as part of that scripting process that they do, it schedules tasks, it sends follow-up emails, it does all of those things, because I'm not seeing any of that, right? I don't have to go into my Outlook plugin to say I've done this call and now send an email, and it just does it for me.
That's correct. I can create the steps here within the guide designer to have it automate that email for you, so you don't have to have the user decide which template to use. I can have them create tasks and then automatically create follow-up tasks for them. If they get a user that says, please call me in 3 days, we can create that task for the user so they don't have to remember to set that or set a reminder. So yeah, it all happens behind the scenes for them, nicely, smoothly, so that they're able to kind of run this business very independently.
Perfect. Now, you mentioned Visual Flow. Did you look at doing this in just sort of Visual Force and Apex coding and stuff like that too, or were there other tools that you looked at?
Not so much with Apex or Visual Force, I suppose. Trying to do it in Flow, we had a fairly basic script, I thought, that should only take a little while to try to get up and running. But just trying to crack Flow, just the beginnings of it, I found was difficult enough for me that it took me as many hours to get just a couple of cards in place as it did to build the whole thing out here in Flow. So, once I kind of went to Flow and found that I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do as quickly as I wanted to do it, we kind of found Cloud Extend, and it was just kind of off and running at that point.
All right. Actually, now you mentioned sort of adding stuff. Do you mind just maybe quickly adding an email step just for the other guests on the phone, just to show them how it actually worked?
Certainly. So I've got my guide here, and if I needed to, say, add an email step in between here, I'm able to just insert a step.
Yeah.
Double-click on that, and then I've got kind of my selection of what kind of step type do I want this to be. So I've got an automated step in which I want to send an email here using a specific template that I've already pre-built. And then from there, I'm not entirely sure what I might have it named, but we'll try to find one.
Oh, now this is interesting. So that actually pulled all of the predefined templates that you already have, right, from your in your Salesforce system. So you didn't have
Correct. So yeah. Even though I didn't know the name, it will just pull all of my templates in an alphabetical order, so I can quickly find one and then just select it. I'm able to kind of add other attributes of the email,
right.
Who's going to be receiving it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
and then just say okay there. So then when this runs the next time after I publish it, that email will go out at this point, assuming they get to it through the tree. And I guess that brings up another nice point, is that I, as an administrator or a manager, whoever's modifying these flows, can work on them as much as they'd like to and save whatever changes they might want to save. But none of that is actually going to affect the user until you do a publish, which I found super useful because I could make more intense changes and I didn't have to do it in off hours. I could do it during the day and then just publish at the end of the day to do a little bit of testing. So very handy to be able to publish separately from saving.
Perfect. So, do you? Another question actually. Do you measure adoption rates before and after rolling out Cloud Extend, or you were more interested in? I'm putting words in your mouth. More interested in sort of the just like any administrator, just getting this project out and getting it going.
Yeah, not so much adoption rates, just because we knew they were going to be in. I mean, these users were going to be in there. It's the only way they could do their job function that we were asking them to do. But definitely being able to report on the data that we were hoping to get out of contacting this list, and being able to see success rankings between the different agents that we had, right? So being able to pull out and see this person hasn't been able to get in touch with anybody, this person's just leaving all voicemails, and maybe they're not doing the script properly. So being able to identify points where further coaching may be needed, or even just supervision, it was really easy for us to get those out of there just because we were doing all of the task logging and field updates behind the scenes for them.
Got it. Now, and since it was it was a moving company, did you have any mobile guides for maybe drivers or movers?
Not at that time. We weren't really exploring mobile yet. We had kind of our team of users that were going to be tethered to their desks for however many hours that day. So no, we didn't really slip into the mobile world yet.
Okay. And did I hear you correctly that you wrote this out in under a week?
Yeah, very, very quick. The majority of the time, I would say, is just doing our own testing to make sure that we're hitting all of the scenarios that we could possibly hit in getting someone on the phone. So once we went through and kind of fully developed our script on our own side, putting it into Cloud Extend was not time consuming at all. Maybe a day's worth after all of the changes they're through. And you get users to test it and kind of go back and forth on a few points. But after that point, the training is super easy, very minimal, because it really does kind of hold their hand through the whole thing. So definitely able to get up really, really quickly and get these people to work as quickly as we could.
And it sounds like you rolled it almost straight into production. Did you use a sandbox at all, or not really?
Yeah, a little bit for sure. As any admin, I try to do everything I can in my sandbox first. That's actually where we are now here. We built everything out here, pulled in some of the data from the list that we had, and just had a couple of the management users that were going to be overseeing these teams kind of run through the scripts with some fake email addresses and that kind of stuff to see how it was all playing and if they wanted any changes for their team before we kind of pushed it live for them. And
did you get anything working with the visual flow from Salesforce or not?
A little bit. We just kind of gave up on it. It's something I keep turning back to just to see new updates. Whenever the new versions come out. It's an impressive tool. I just find that for me, I don't have the time to dedicate to learning it as much as I feel like I would need to learn it to figure out how to make it do what I need it to do. So just jumping into Cloud Extend is way easier for me and much easier for me to train someone to do without any development experience.
Thanks very much. That was a superb demo. That was really great. I couldn't ask for better, really, because all the things that you talked about or I talked about earlier, you kind of mentioned it was easy for you to get going and it was easy for your users to step through. Fantastic. Thanks, Erik. So,
No problem. Thank you, Clive.
Erik's not the only guy that has seen benefits. We've just got a few examples here. Corvisa at the bottom, but somebody like Plymouth Rock Energy that had a similar sort of thing with, even though they didn't do call scripting, but they're doing customer support, 20% increase in agent productivity, and the time it took to create new account records and things like that was reduced by 85%. Absolutely fantastic. Marcus and Milichev, Scancom, and all those guys, all getting benefits from using Cloud Extend and adding that process automation to their environment. So we saw Erik was doing sort of call scripting. Where else could we use it? If you're stuck for ideas, sales and sales ops, so meeting planning, maybe post-meeting follow-up. Are there actions? Are there tasks? Are there follow-on activities from having a sales meeting that you want to automate by following through a guide? Customer support, as we said here, case creation, account updates, even simple things like perhaps there's a telephone number change where I'm going to change it in Salesforce, but perhaps that has to be pushed to a back-end system. So, you could automate Cloud Extend to call a cloud integration task in a future release that we're going to see to update that telephone number in maybe an SAP or an Oracle system or something like that, not just in Salesforce. Customer provisioning, so onboarding a particular customer. Salesforce administration, maybe there's certain, when I create a new user, part of that creating a new user flow, perhaps there's some process that you want to do every time that you add a new user to Salesforce. And for me, marketing, capturing lead capture. So if you're using, say, web to lead, on within Salesforce, is there a process that you want to kick off every time a lead is created through web to lead or case to lead or web to case? Or maybe lead capture at a trade show. Perhaps you want to walk you through a guide while I'm in front of somebody and capturing sort of that more than just a badge scan. And campaign management are the things that when I create campaigns or send out emails, maybe there's certain things that I want to send out an email and assign a follow-on task to a user to follow up that person. All great things that we could do. So, if you didn't get it from the horse's mouth, not that you're a horse, Erik, but if you didn't get it from the horse's mouth themselves, what a real great tool that Cloud Extend is. Please feel free, go on the App Exchange, search for Cloud Extend or put Informatica in the little search box there, and you'll see the great reviews and people writing about how they're using it. Real nice page, and of course, click on the Get It Now button if you'd like to try it. So, with that, before I do my sort of wrap up and takeaways and next steps, maybe we'd like to put the call out to, if you have any questions, please ask them now. Did the operator want to announce that, or have I done my job?
As a reminder, you may ask a question through the web console. Locate the Q&A panel on the lower right-hand side of your screen. Type in your question and click Send to submit.
Oh, now, so we've got some really quite technical questions here. Can we create the flow in one org and publish them in another org using change sets? So, can I create a flow in one org Absolutely. Can I publish it in another? What you would actually do in that instance would be create it in one org. You would export the tree, the actual logic. You just press the little export button. Actually, let me show you that here. Let me just share my screen for 1 second. Hopefully you can see my desktop. So I'm in the Guide Designer. This is in a particular org, and if I select my guide, I have a guide here. I've got this guide called Add New Contacts. I can simply press the Export button, which will give me a list of guides I may maybe export, or if I open this guide, I think I can export it too. And then it simply saves it as an XML file, and that XML file then I would do the reverse on Cloud Extend in another org. I would actually then do an import, and it would ask me for the file name, and it would import it in. So it's not a case of simply pressing publish here and exporting into a different org. I'd actually remove the trees from, or export the trees from one and publish into another. Now, can we use change sets for that? I don't know, but we can follow up with, we'll get the answer and we'll follow up. But the reason it works like that actually is a Salesforce reason, because the metadata in one org might be very different than a metadata from another org. So there might be objects in one that it doesn't know about that exist in the other. So that's kind of why each org is essentially sandboxed and kept separate. So again, we'll export from one the tree and import to the other. And if there are actually, incidentally, and if there are objects and data fields that are not that mismatch, then the import mechanism will tell you which ones are missing. So you could work that out. Here we go. Let me just go back to the Q&A here. Let me have a look. And somebody asked about sandboxes too. So that's exactly the same process for sandbox. So I can export the tree from one org or from my sandbox org into my production org. So I export from one, import to the other, and that's how you move from essentially sandbox to production. Hopefully that answered your questions there. So before I wrap up, I do want to do a quick commercial. You're going to get to see actually Cloud Extend and a whole host of other things, Informatica Cloud, Cloud MDM, and also the existing on-premise product from Informatica. So at the Informatica World, that's coming up really shortly. So if you've not signed up, please do so soon. So we'd love to see you. It's going to be a really good event. If you want to learn more about Cloud Extend, then the place to go, informaticacloud.com/Cloud Extend. That'll take you to all the great resources that we have there. Follow us on Twitter. If you're all see us in person. So we are participating in the customer tours that Salesforce are running at the moment. So if you happen to be in a city where those are running, then please come along and see us in person. And as I said, go to the App Exchange and try us at appexchange.com, and then you can go and try it now. Press the Try It Now button. So I think if there are no more questions to our guests, thanks for watching us today. And Erik, a really big thank you to you for doing such a super job and helping me out today. You really made my life easy. It was really great demo.
My pleasure, Clive.
Thanks very much. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.